Radio Engineering, Graphics and Design learners, grade 10s to 12s. A lot of you are going to be writing mechanical paper 2 in the coming days, and I've had a couple of requests to just give some insight again on especially hatching and the conventions required when we do hatching. And I'm going to talk you through one or two examples here that's going to help those of you who still have to write EGD mechanical paper 2. So I'm going to start off here with this example of a top view and a full sectional front view of a component. Now, it's not that important what we are drawing, it's just the specifics with regards to hatching that I'd like to announce to you. So the exceptions when we do hatching, in principle, it is when something is used as a fastener, it is not hatched. If you look at this here, that key is used in the keyway as a fastener to join the shaft to the bigger component. It's a fastener. The nut here, the washer, the shaft with its screw thread, those are all fasteners. So if we read here, any ribs, shafts, bolts, nuts, rivets, rods, keys, pins, and similar components used to join things together, they are not hatched when we cut them in their length, longitudinally. All right, keep a mind out for that. So there you can see a washer, the nut here, the shaft, the keyway, that's used to join something. Even the shaft here, used to join, not going to be hatched when we cut them in its longitude. A rib that's used for a support, when it's cut in its length again, also not hatched. Let me show you some examples that's in the JPEG textbook that you also will benefit from. Now, the first one here is some sort of a tap. Now, let's look at what did and how the hatching was done on this one. All right, the biggest component here, hatching evenly spaced and a bit wider. The smaller the components, the closer the hatching becomes. That's to differentiate between the different components. Okay, so technically for each component that you have in your components list, if you look here at the bottom, for instance, there's 6 different components. If I'm going to have them here, I should have at least 6 different hatching styles. All right, and which will differ at 45 degrees in one direction or 45 degrees in the opposite direction, and the spacing is the other part. What we do want is a consistent hatching pattern all the way through the same component. So you can see here the bigger holder, the smaller components, as they change, the direction changes, and so 2 adjacent parts will always have different hatching, either direction, or if it gets too complicated like here, you can see the closeness of the 2 are different. Then something else that's important, if we have an internal screw thread and we cut through it, then that section lines need to go all the way to the end if it is empty and there's not something screwed into it. But in this instance, we had a shaft with an external screw thread being screwed into this holder that's got an internal screw thread, and so that hatching does not form part of the screw thread part here. So just take a note of that. But at that part again where it's really air, that hatching continues to the end. The moment that it's joined together, that falls off. All right. On this handle, there is technically also ribs, and so they are not hatched there. The washer and the nut not hatched. Okay. There's a partial section shown here. This you can do by freehand. All right, and that's normally required or specified. If it's not specified, why would we hatch this? We would hatch this because it will give us more insight and information into this. Although this is a shaft, but hatching this gives us more insight into what happens here in the middle. And so you won't hatch the entire shaft, just the part that actually is going to help you with more information. If I hatch this part here, that would have been absolutely meaningless for me. Here's another example, just where we look at a square on a shaft, not hatched. Again, adjacent, different hatching is required. Screw threads, shaft, not hatched here. This is an external screw thread, so it's not hatched. If it was an internal screw thread, like in the previous example, it wasn't screwed in, of course, you'll show the hatching there. All right. All right, let me see. There's one more thing here. All right, there's a stub also, it's a part of a fastener, so there is no hatching there. square on a shaft again, you'll see hatching, washers knot, nuts knot. There's a handle here, adjacent components, different direction. All right, if I look at the SUNS document that I'll be making as a download in this description, so just after this I'll quickly make sure to upload this for you guys, and you'll be able to upload this yourself and have a page to it. We look at different cutting planes in this. If we look at a multi-plane section, if that's our top view and this is our front view, remember if there's a step in that, that is not going to reflect into a line here. We just do a hatching all the way through. Okay, there you can see another example of that, of a component where there's a multi-plane section, and we're doing that to get all the detail in here. That steps there, but in the actual section, we're not going to show those corners as lines here. All right, and again there you can see center lines clearly indicated, and this was one casting. All right, I'll have this as a download for you. There's quite a lot in this document that you can actually go through on your own. I also have in my shorts, I'll be doing specific shorts on each one of these that you guys can have a look at just as a part of revision. Please head over to the community tab for other relevant posts that's going to be beneficial to you and your friends, and please continue sharing HowToEGD to make the most of your EGD journey. Thank you so much for joining. All the best for your exams. Now it's your turn.